Here again with another Breaking Bad Season 5 episode review video, as this is the Season 5 mid-season finale, as Season 5 was split into two halves, a 5A and a 5B, and 5B didn't come out until like 11 months later. But before I get into that though, pretty important, if you aren't caught up to the point where I am at rewatching or watching Breaking Bad, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, you found out that you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And for all of you out there that are wondering, I've seen Breaking Bad at least 8 times all the way through. Hell, this might even be my 10th time watching this show. So join me on the journey and let's discuss the show in the comments section, along with the legendary Crazy Coffee Man, who is a Breaking Bad fan, a Dexter fan, and a Lucifer fanatic. With all that said, this will be Breaking Bad Season 5, Episode 8. Again, it's the mid-season finale of Season 5. The title of this episode is called Gliding Over All. And this will be my review, reaction, recap after just finishing watching the episode. So we kick things off with Walt focusing in on a fly again, as we know how obsessed Walt can be with flies. Todd arrives in the cab and Todd sees Walt in the office. Todd tells Walt that the cars have been dealt with. No one tailed him. Joe was the one that turned the car into a cube, as that's what Joe does at his salvage yard. And Todd wants to know if we should deal with the other thing now. Yeah, sure, Walt says. And then we see Mike Ehrmantraut dead in the trunk of Walt's car. And Walt tells Todd, I don't want to talk about this. It had to be done. And Todd says, okay. So Walt grabs a barrel and Todd grabs the acid. And then Jesse Pinkman shows up. And Jesse asks if Mike got out safe. And Walt says, he's gone. Jesse talks about the guys in jail. And Walt says he has the only vote now, and I'll handle it. And then Jesse leaves. Walt goes home and takes a shower. We see the Walt Whitman book in the bathroom now, and that will come into play later. Dennis, who is like the manager of the laundromat, is looking to make a deal now. And he tells Hank he's got plenty that Hank doesn't know. And Hank says he's got 8 other people willing to talk, including Dan the lawyer. Walt meets Lydia out, and she wants Walt to order something, but Walt's not thirsty. Lydia doesn't want to give Walt the list because she'll become a loose end. She says, you guaranteed my safety from Mike, and she knows that Mike took Walt took Mike out. Or, I mean, it's heavily implied that she knows that Mike Ehrmantraut is dead. What do you want exactly? If you don't give me that list, I have no use for you. Lydia asks Walt what he knows about the Czech Republic. They've never seen anything like Walt's product. Lydia says there's a lot of Madrigal employees and she moves things. That's what she does. Walt asks Lydia, why didn't you pitch this to Fring? She says we did. We were in the final stages until somebody killed him. So Lydia ends up giving Walt the names that he's looking for, and then they shake on it, and then Lydia says, we're going to make a lot of money together. And then Walt had the ricin with him, but he didn't use it. Walt tapes it on the other side of a plug for safe storage at his house behind the little stand in the bedroom. And then Walt calls Todd and says, it's time I meet your uncle. And then Walt meets Todd's uncle, Jack, Kevin, and other random people that are associated with Jack. And Jack tells Walt taking out all these guys in different places in 2 minutes is doable, but it'll be harder than taking out Bin Laden. Walt tells Jack it can be done. Exactly how I want. Are you the man to do it is the question. Figure it out. Isn't that what I'm paying you for? Dan the lawyer is killed. Ron the foreman is killed. And then eventually other people are killed, unnamed people that we don't, unless I don't remember their names. And then we end with Dennis, the manager of the laundromat, former manager of the laundromat, was burned to death in his cell. And then Hank's having like a picture with like, I want to say it's a soccer team or maybe it's a softball team. I can't remember. I didn't actually type that down. But Gomez gives the bad news to Hank. And then Jack calls Walt and says, it's done. Walt goes to visit Holly at Hank and Marie's place. And Marie comes in and turns off the news that Walt was watching because it's talking about all the killings that were in jail, as Hank isn't going to want to hear about that right now. And then Hank asks Walt if he wants a drink. Walt says he was about ready to leave, but he'll have, sure. And then Hank's thinking about the summer job that he used to have. And Walt says, sounds nice, as he's waiting for Hank to tell him about his day so he can learn more information. And then we go to Walt and Todd cooking. It's a cooking montage with them cooking a lot, with them tenting a bunch of houses up. I counted, I think, 10 or was it 13? Now I can't remember. That's not a note that I actually took down. But lots of money being made while we hear Crystal Blue Persuasion. Skyler goes to see Holly and Junior. Lewis calls and Junior leaves Skyler and Marie to talk. Marie tells Skyler seems good. And then Marie says her and Hank have been thinking it may be time to take the kids home. Marie says that we're starting to worry that we're enabling you. And then Skyler goes home. She sees Walt sitting out by the pool. And then Skyler tells Walt to take a drive with her. So Skyler takes Walt to a storage facility, and they go in this nice storage locker, and Skyler shows Walt a huge pile of money that's like stacked up, like probably, 3 feet maybe? Maybe it was lower than that. She gave up counting it. It was so much, so fast. Walt says, exactly how much is this? And Skyler says, I don't know. She just sprays it for silverfish. And then Skyler tells Walt she wants her kids back. I want my life back. Please tell me how much is enough. How big does this pile have to be? And then we see Jesse has fallen asleep with a cigarette in his hand. And of course it wakes him up when it burns him. And Jesse hears a knock at the door. It's Walt. Walt hopes he's not disturbing him or anything. Jesse's tossed all his burner phones and his landline is disconnected. Walt comes in and sees that Jesse's been using it. There's like some bongs and stuff, so at least weed and that, maybe other things. I didn't see any track marks, but I'm sure Jesse didn't have to move now, or he didn't have to move because Saul Goodman told him what Walt did. There was no other option, Jesse. It had to be done, and Jesse says he's not coming back. And Walt says, I know. Walt tells Jesse he saw an RV recently. It looked like theirs, but much nicer. But Walt's got to get going. He says he left something for him. And then Jesse, we find out that Walt left Jesse 2 duffel bags full of cash. And then he actually had his gun on him when he goes back in the house. So if Walt would Jesse's kind of a loose end. At any point in time, Walt could want to take out Jesse, but Walt really likes Jesse more than that brat kid junior of his. Skyler's cleaning off dishes. Walt returns home, and Walt turns the water off. And Walt says, I'm out. Or he says, he's out. I'm out. Family get together at the White residence. They're outside on a nice day. Skyler actually seems very happy, as does Walt and Junior, and Hank and Marie. Junior puts sunscreen on Holly. Hank gets up and goes back into the house. He's got a ticket number 2. He sits on the shitter, and he needs some reading material. He grabs a magazine. That's nothing interesting. And then Hank grabs the book, the Walt Whitman book. And then Hank sees the dedication in there. To my other favorite WW, it's an honor working with you. Fondly, GB, as in Gail Bedecker. And then he remembers what he said to Walt in a previous season. I can't remember if this was season 3 or season 4, where he says, WW, what does that mean? Willy Wonka? Woodrow Wilson? Walter White? And then Walt putting his hands up, you got me. And that's what ends the episode and the first half of season 5. As I said, After this, they took almost a year off, and before returning. And then, fun fact, this episode of Breaking Bad was actually the first episode of the show that I actually watched live. Reason why I finally started watching Breaking Bad, there was a hot chick that started at the last job I had, and I wanted a reason to chit-chat with her that we could both know a lot about. And she would always bring up Breaking Bad, so I started watching Breaking Bad. Other people would talk about it too, but this actually was the reason why I started watching it. So Becca, thank you for getting me to watch Breaking Bad. I haven't seen you in, 10 years now, but that was very nice of her to make such a great recommendation. So anyway, it sucked to have to wait another year almost to watch more episodes of Breaking Bad, but this was a really good episode. We set things up for the future. I'm going to give the episode a 9.5 out of 10. My male character of the episode is going to be Walt. Wow, Walt really put things into motion in this episode. And then for the females, Skylar was good, and so Lydia. Watching the show, this is the only time that I've watched this show where I've actually been like, wow, Lydia was really useful and a good character. Weird, but good. And then, of course, rest in peace to all Mike's guys. They didn't last very long when it came to Jack and all his men that he has planted places. So you've heard everything that I had to say. Now, of course, it's your turn. If you're a fan of Breaking Bad, El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie, or even Better Call Saul, make sure that you Hulk smash the like button, and do know that I do cover a lot of stuff on the channel. I started this channel because not a lot of people talked about the things that I wanted to talk about a lot, so I started the channel just to talk about whatever I wanted to, so I don't necessarily have a niche. So keep in mind, I have a playlist with all the Breaking Bad stuff. I have a Better Call Saul, the final season episode review videos, and it's very possible that I will start doing Better Call Saul reviews from the start at some point this year, probably towards the middle end of the year, though. But make sure you share the video with any friend that you have that likes Breaking Bad. Put this video on any one of your preferred social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about your thoughts on this episode of Breaking Bad. What would you rate the episode, and who would be your male, who would be your female character of the episode? You can choose more than one, obviously. It's tough when you have an episode like this. And then last but certainly not least, actually, let me back up a second. Click right here to see my Better Call Saul series finale review video, assuming you've seen every single episode of Better Call Saul. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And you never know what you're going to see on JDev TV.